saying, if you think I'm wrong about that, which I think I've indicated that I do, he said, then please take this down for a year and put up an Egyptian ink and tell me that it doesn't matter what symbols we put in front of the courthouse. Now, as far as that's concerned, I'm not real sure what he's trying to get to as far as picking the Egyptian symbol for eternal life. But I don't want to take it down for a year. I don't want to take it down for 15 minutes. I don't want to take it down at all. Not because I'm afraid of the symbolism involved, but because I see for a fact that it does no harm. But it does acknowledge the historical link between our legal system and the very first legal code that the God of Abraham laid out. Now, you don't have to like that. You don't have to agree with it. But it was still the basis for our legal system. That was the starting point. That's where we jumped off. If we'd kept it that simple, things would be a lot better. But like I said, if more people actually followed those handy little rules to live by, we would have a lot less crime and a lot less civil disputes. It's it's kind of crazy. I'm going to take another quick break, and then after that, we're going to jump into another story, and we'll go from there. Again, thanks for listening, and stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. Glad you're with us. And, I can't help but wonder if there isn't some petition or something we can start to make that Hillary Clinton's official campaign song. It certainly seems appropriate. It would even work for Elizabeth Warren, but Hillary is in far more dire need to connect with the people. And I think an honest tune might help go in that direction. It's just a thought. Perhaps I'm being a little facetious. Then again, maybe I have a point. All right. Anyway, we've already talked a little bit about some of the things that I posted on Facebook and how there was more vitriol than usual. I hadn't got as near as much response that was out of the ordinary from the Twitter account, but Facebook got hammered this week as far as my page. And something else that I saw that absolutely stinged my biscuit while I was looking for something positive, I come across this. U.S. troops have been ordered to publicly fast for Ramadan. Now, granted, it's only when they're out in public, when they're serving in countries where Ramadan is honored, practiced, whatever. I'm not big on Islamic holidays, so I can't tell you too much about it. I can tell you that ISIS charged a bunch of children with crimes, including not fasting for Ramadan, which has already started, and just they executed them. Kids. Oh, hungry children ate something that's worth killing you over. What is going on? We've got college professors, the University of Memphis, She has been dismissed since the article made national headlines, but Zandra Robinson made the statement that white people are conditioned to commit mass murder, like in Charleston. Somehow being white is the reason for doing this. And somehow or another, a reasoned response to that is supposed to be, I don't know, TV land dumping the Dukes-of-Hazzard? I mean, how on earth does the Duke boys, good old Bo and Luke, along with Daisy and Uncle Jesse, don't forget Crazy Cooter, which, sounds like was really supposed to be an inside joke, but how do Bo and Luke, Duke, and Daisy, and Uncle Jesse all end up being on TV Land's no-go list just because you can occasionally see the Confederate battle flag atop the orange Challenger they drove, a.k.a. the General Lee? They've said it's not because the car was called the General Lee. It's just because of that darned old Confederate battle flag. They've taken the Dukes-of-Hazzard off their rotation, and this is in response, supposedly a reasoned response to the continuation of this distraction. Meanwhile, we've got homosexuals in this country that are acting like they've been oppressed more than blacks were during the days of slavery, with these in-your-face celebrations of something that's utterly ridiculous to begin with. And nobody talks about the fact that ISIS was celebrating too. They loved the Supreme Court's ruling, so much so that they started tossing gay people off of roofs again. It's not the first time they've executed those who have been accused of being homosexual off of buildings. And it's got to be a terrible way to go. Now, I don't ever see a time where we here in the States could convict somebody of a crime and then condemn them to death via tossed off a building. I think that might exceed the excessive, cruel, and unusual punishment standard. I mean, we're still having arguments over lethal injection, which typically, if done right, is relatively painless and better than most people that actually get executed deserve. Assuming, of course, they're guilty. Naturally, not everyone's guilty. This is an imperfect system. Part of what's wrong with America is terrible. But where is the outrage when it comes to, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, who still believes that the practice of homosexual activity deserves a death penalty? They're supposed to be one of the more enlightened Arab nations, the Saudis. They'll still stone you to death. But ISIS is throwing gay men off of roofs, or let me emphasize, accused gay men. I don't know who did the accusing. I don't know how much evidence there was against them. Problem is, they were accused, and that was good enough. Another reason to make me happy to be here instead of over there. I don't think anybody would accuse me of being gay, but evidently just the accusation is enough, so if I piss somebody off enough, maybe they would accuse me of, I'm enough of an infidel for their the death cult that is Islam. I probably would be thrown off of a building right after having been beheaded, after having been crucified, after having been set on fire in a cage that was then dunked under water and fed to sharks or who knows what else. They're a creative bunch, but where's the collective outrage? Where is everybody pulling together to try and stop the inhumanity of ISIS? You got Breitbart running surveys saying that 70% of people want the feds to keep their hands off the Confederate flag. They don't want federal intervention. That other 30%, however, will probably be the 30% that they listen to. Why? This is one of those division issues. You got mobs of teenagers storming Walmarts in Georgia, destroying stuff, stealing some stuff, but mostly just making a big mess. What was the point? According to inside reports, prosecution's case against the Baltimore cops that killed Freddie Gray, or supposedly killed Freddie Gray, according to inside sources, the case there is falling apart quickly. It had a lot to do with moving too quickly to charge. Trans and queer illegals held a die-in at the White House. I always thought they had worked to move away from the term queer, and now queer is becoming their word again. Is that like the N-word? We'll have to call it the Q word if you're not one, but they're allowed to use it kind of thing. Is that what this is? Because I've noticed here recently, where they used to do the LBGT, now they're putting a Q at the end of it. I'm assuming that's for queer. Since now I'm seeing these headlines saying trans and queers. What is the deal with these illegals? Is there actually really something going on with the Obama administration where they're not deporting heterosexual illegals, but if you fall into the category of the LGBTQ A, B, C, X to the 30th power, if you're one of those transgendered illegals, they are being detained and sent back? Because I'm not aware of this president really deporting a whole lot of anybody. Unless, of course, they come here looking for work with college educations and thought they might actually contribute to our society. Those people have to go. How dare you try to set a good example? Unbelievable. But they did. They had this die-in in front of the White House. And, to me, I'm thinking, looks like a pretty good opportunity to detain and round up some illegals. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the hardware store owner. Tennessee, East Tennessee in particular, Jeff Amix. He owns Amix Hardware and Roofing Supplies in Granger County. Great place to get some tomatoes, by the way, if you're not familiar with the area. Granger County tomatoes are famous. It's about an hour away from Knoxville, in case you were trying to boogie down this way and passing through. He added a no gays allowed sign to a store on Monday because gay and lesbian couples are against his religion. Amix, who is also a Baptist minister, said he realized Monday morning that LGBT people are not afraid to stand for what they believe in. He said it showed him that Christian people should be brave enough to stand for what they believe in. Now, I agree with that statement. Okay. Don't twist it any further than that. He also said, quote, "They gladly stand for what they believe in. Why can't I? They believe their way is right. I believe it's wrong. But yet I'm going to take more persecution than them because I'm standing for what I believe in." On Tuesday, he removed the No Gays Allowed sign and replaced it with a sign that says, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone who would violate our rights of freedom of speech